Hello and welcome to Odds Premier League 34th match day. We have Tom Rennie. Tom, you were perfect yesterday, yeah? I made some money thanks to you. Thank you.
Felt very confident in some of those results. All I need now is Burnley to come off in my midweek picks, and I'll be so rich from my bets, I'll never need to do this video again.
Well, Man City halftime draw, full-time home victory. That was spot on. We have already one comment from Nigeria. We have analyzed the game of tonight, Burnley. So go to our previous video of the Premier League and you can check it out. But now it's time to analyze the games that we have this weekend. So remember to leave your comments and, of course, press the like and subscribe. Now, let's go on with Tom and the show. Were you right in the Chelsea Arsenal, by the way? Because that one, Scandi saying that he lost money in that game, that was a hard one.
That's the only one I got wrong. That's the only one I got wrong. However, I did say go high with the goals in that game. So you've got to look for all the tips in there, buddy. You've got to look for who's going to win it, but also the other little nuggets of great information. Things like there's going to be over 3.5 goals in the game. That sort of stuff. Come on.
Especially in Chelsea defense, that was awful, was completely rubbish.
But no, I did get that one wrong. You got me. What do you want from me, eh? They're not all right. There's a reason I don't live on a beach in Barbados. I only get about 7 out of 10.
Exactly. We don't have the Back to the Future almanac, no? Baseball almanac. So we cannot know and predict the future. Unfortunately, that's why we are still making this video. Otherwise, we will be in Barbados doing diving. Let's start with the match day, talking about Arsenal. Of course, no one expected them to win at Stamford Bridge, but Chelsea put the red cup to them, and they, of course, scored 4 goals, so praise to them. And the Champions League race is still very interesting, and this game is massive. Arsenal, Man United, as you expected, they were absolutely rubbish with no options to get points in Anfield. Do you expect some improvement from the Red Devils?
Not really. I mean, this is really tough. This is a really tough one to predict, actually. And our viewer's absolutely right. I was wrong on Arsenal in midweek, and betting on Arsenal right now is not something that I would recommend doing, truth be told, because who would have thought a team could lose to Southampton, then go to Chelsea and win? That's why getting the right bets is so difficult. That's why predicting the Premier League is so difficult. And that's why it's a percentage game here when you're betting on every game across the weekend. I thought they were tremendous, Arsenal, at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea got their problems, and we'll talk about them a bit later in the programme. But I thought, I didn't expect anything from Eddie Nketiah. He's already equaled his goal tally from last season in one game against Chelsea, which no one really saw coming, certainly not me. I didn't think much of their chances in midfield without Thomas Partey, but El Neni stepped up and looked fantastic on Wednesday night. Granit Xhaka had a great game, and they even covered for the diabolical form of Nuno Tavares at times as well. Even Ramsdale had a bad game, but scoring 4 goals, you're more than likely to win. So tough to predict Arsenal. We know how they're going to play. Arteta has got a style of play. It's very similar to West Ham in a lot of ways. 4 defenders, 2 holding midfielders, 3 attacking players, and 1 striker who puts a lot of effort in, but doesn't usually score goals. And it's worked for them in recent weeks, and it worked for them in midweek against Chelsea as well. Still no Tierney, still no Partey, still no Tomiyasu. Apart from that, I don't believe anyone got injured in midweek, so they will miss this game. As for Manchester United, it was everything we expected against Liverpool on Tuesday. Obviously, when we recorded our program, we hadn't heard the sad news about Cristiano Ronaldo, so we don't know if he'll be back for this game or not. I wouldn't imagine he'll be back, but how can I possibly tell you whether he'll play or not in this game? We haven't heard from Ralf Rangnick, and who would judge him if he didn't want to play in this game or any future games this season for Manchester United. So for the purpose of this preview, we'll talk about it as if he's not going to play, and on the field, that's a massive problem for Manchester United because Marcus Rashford still looks woefully out of form. He never was a striker. He wanted to be a striker at one point, proved that he couldn't be, was quite good on the left wing, and United brought 2 people in to replace him, in Elanga from the youth team and Sancho from Dortmund. So he must be going, well, what am I doing here then? And I think you saw that at times against Liverpool in midweek. Defensively, very, very poor. People have a go at Harry Maguire, but, he's trying to hold that ship together, and the ship is listing. It's sinking. He isn't playing well, but no one's playing well. Telles is playing poorly. Dallo is playing poorly. When he's fit, Lindelof is playing poorly. Phil Jones got a start on Tuesday. He shouldn't even be there. There's so many of these people. Pogba's injured. Fred is injured. McTominay is injured. Shaw is out. Greenwood's missing. Cavani's missing. If it wasn't Man United, some of us might actually feel some sympathy for Ralph Rangnick, considering how many issues he's got. They are Man United. You shake your head, so we don't. But if it was Burnley, for example, I might feel some sympathy for a team with this many injuries. Look, to the game, I think Arsenal are a really good collective, and I think Man United are not. I think Man United have some tremendous individuals, chief among them Ronaldo. I don't think he will play here. Again, what do I know? But I'm assuming that he won't play. I don't see any goal threat apart from Ronaldo for Manchester United. So I would be looking here for Arsenal to spring out of the traps and score early. They'll win the first half. And I expect Arsenal to score again late on in this game and win the second half. Arsenal win, Arsenal don't concede, and Arsenal win both halves of this game as well. Those are my tips.
Okay, Arsenal home, half-time, full-time, for instance, is 3.45. Millie is more optimistic. Man United to win. Marco, Harry Maguire to score. In which goal? We have to say. In Man United or Arsenal. I follow one Twitter account that is super funny about Maguire and his jokes. And the rating, the whole season is like 5, 6, 4, 3. Poor guy, apart from his salary, he's not having a good season. Then next game, Leicester City, Aston Villa. This is a relaxed game, nothing to play for, no pressure for both teams. Leicester, of course, they still have to play that massive game the following week against Roma in the conference. So perhaps the many players will be on the bench. Key players, only one victory in the last 4 Premier League games. For Aston Villa, the season seems completely over. This is the kind of game that is very difficult to bet on, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you throw into that as well, it's a derby in the Midlands. 2 relatively local teams who want to be the top club in that area. The winner of this game probably will be between these two. So I think that you've got Leicester City here. And I've watched their recent games. I watched them against Everton last night. I watched them at the weekend as well. And I thought, good team, good players. You can see they're getting better as this sort of period draws to a close. That ridiculous set of injuries they had November through to March, that's now cleaning up. And it's only Jamie Vardy, Samare Bertrand and Ndidi missing. Apart from that, Harvey Barnes, James Maddison, Johnny Evans, Wesley Fofana, Ricardo Pereira, James Justin. All these guys have been injured all season long. They're all now coming back at a vital time. So that's good for Leicester. And they were somehow beaten by Newcastle at the weekend when Newcastle barely had a look in, and they somehow didn't beat Everton on Wednesday, even though they could have won that 2 or 3-0 with the chances they created, and Everton didn't create very much. That's the way it goes sometimes. And maybe sometimes they just don't quite feel the luck is with them in the Premier League as it is in the Conference League. But I still think Leicester go into this game quite rightly as favourites to win the match. And I don't understand that. I think I've switched over this morning, 2.74, 2.95, but I think they will be favourites by the time we get to the weekend because Aston Villa, I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing anything right now in Aston Villa. I think that against Tottenham, they had a brilliant first 45 minutes and should have won it, but didn't take their chances. Danny Ings looks all out of sorts. He's got a newborn baby. I've been there. It took me 2 years to recover. So I don't know whether we expect much from Danny Ings between now and the end of the season. Ollie Watkins has stopped scoring. Coutinho, he's not going to be worth the money. As good as he was for a few weeks, for the money it would take to bring him to Aston Villa next season, it isn't going to be worth them paying his wages for the output that he has brought to the club during this period of time. And defensively, I'm not a big fan of the back four at Villa. I'm not sure about Tyrone Mings. I'm not sure about Ezri Konsa. Luca Dean always seems to be injured. And Matty Cash good going forward. Defensively, I'm not sure. So there's some question marks there. In terms of the game, I think what you're looking at here is, because it is a derby, you've got to look at the draw market. The draw market at 360 on its own is very nice. The draw market and both teams score is very nice. And you can also do something I like to do, which is a group bet. You can group bet on this game 1-1, 2-2, 3-3. Any of those you can get for just under 5-1. Now that is nice. This game screams draw, both teams score.
Both teams to score, as Scandi is telling us, 1.7. Leicester to win, as you mentioned, 2.9, but the draw, 3.6. Also, Marco is going for a draw. Next game, difficult to find good bets and good odds, I guess. In Man City, Watford, you were clinical, Man City to draw at halftime to beat Brighton. Now they have, of course, the Real Madrid game in the horizon. Time, I guess, for more rotations for Pep Guardiola, as he always does. And Watford, no options, right, to stay in the Premier League. They will get thrashed again. Or not?
Yeah, look, I don't think we need to waste a great deal of time on this, to be honest, because there's only a few bets anyone can do. For fun, you could pick how many goals you think City will score between 1 and 7. Just put £1 on each and you'll make your money back whatever happens, because they're going to win this game without conceding. Against Brighton, I thought that bet because Brighton are a good team, good possession team, good defensive team. Watford have nothing. They have nothing they can take to Man City on that level. And, that might be insulting to Watford, but they know they're nowhere near Man City. They know that. They're going to try and keep the score down. I think City win both halves. I think City will score at least 4 goals. Even with their second team, I think they'll score at least 4 goals. So I'd be looking City win. They win both halves and go over 3.5 goals for a City win. Go big or go home on City this weekend. This is the one where you Asian handicap and you look for it big, because they're in the title race. They need to win this game. There's players that want to get into the Champions League team, and Watford are one of the worst teams in the league on current form right now. Big City win.
Man City to win both halves, for instance, 1.9. This is the most decent thing that you can find in this game. Then next one, Norwich, Newcastle. Tough one, I guess, also to bet, because Newcastle, as you predicted as well, they are winning every single game at home, as they did against Crystal Palace, but away they are not doing exactly the same, whereas Norwich, even if they are going to the Championship, they've been competitive in the last games, actually.
Yes, I agree. I agree absolutely on Norwich. I think that Dean Smith is a very good hire. He's a very good coach, and I think when they go down, which they will, he is the right man to get them back in the Premier League next season. But he's built that Championship team now, and that's why you're getting, I think, consistency of performance. Not great results. If it wasn't for Ronaldo, they would have got something at Old Trafford last weekend. But they're playing like a team now, Norwich. They don't have the quality to be in this league. That was always going to be a problem. Heart only gets you so far, and at times they've not shown that. But right now, they're a tough team to play. This is not the Norwich of 5-6 weeks ago when they were beaten by Chelsea, for example. What was that, 4 or 5 games ago? But they are going to fall short. If they're going to stay up, they've basically got to win 5 of the 6 remaining, minimum. And it's just not going to happen. I think we're 3 weeks away from Norwich going down. But commendable what they've done over the last few weeks, and they're perfectly placed to win the Championship again next season. For Newcastle, they've got the 40 points now, which I always thought they'd get following the January transfer window. The home form is what's got them over the line. The away form has been erratic. They're still not a particularly good team, but at St. James's Park with an air of confidence behind them, which is what Eddie Howe brings you as a manager. I think they've done fantastically well. Real tough game, this one, actually. Look, I have had the policy all season to bet on Norwich to lose, and that has won me, I think, 19 bets this season. And I think that will happen, again, more often than not in the 6 games that are remaining. But Newcastle are not a side that I would bet on away from home. So I would be looking here for double chance Newcastle, because I'd fancy Newcastle over Norwich. So Newcastle win or this game is drawn. But the draw market is what I find really interesting here. A goalless draw at 11-1 looks right up my street for this game. But I would suggest draw, double chance it, goals at halftime, potentially Newcastle nick it late on, but I still don't see Norwich getting anything.
Okay, draw, as you mentioned, 3.5, draw no bet for Newcastle, or Asian Handicap 0, for instance, for your ACCA. 1.5 could be another option. Next game, last one on Saturday, Brentford. Tottenham, another tough one to call, because Brentford, they are ending the season really good, beating Watford, 4 victories in the last 5 games, including West Ham, including Chelsea, whereas for Spurs, they lost, remember, against Brighton, but every time they lose, they seem to bounce back very quickly with Conte.
Yeah, so Brentford right now, look, they played West Ham at a really good time, a really good moment to play West Ham. And West Ham also lost Kurt Zuma in that game. They had the next leg against Lyon coming up in 4 days. They had almost no interest in that game. So, great news for Brentford. Similar for Chelsea, Champions League game coming up. And so they had one eye on that. And Brentford, I think, were underestimated by both of those teams because this is not the Brentford of a few months ago. Everyone's back, everyone's fit, everyone's playing well. Janelt's playing well, Norgaard's playing well, Tony's playing well. So confident is Tony right now. He's trying to score from the halfway line, something he did against Watford last week and just missed the target. So they're playing fantastically well, and they're not a team you want to face at this moment in time. Defensively sound, hardest working team in the league, crowd behind them, over the 40-point mark. It's all there for Brentford right now. And I think it's a tremendous success. Thomas Frank has been able to keep them out of relegation trouble all season. 39 points currently. So winning they're over 40, but 39 is more than safe already. As for Tottenham, I couldn't believe how bad they were last week. I mean, I could not fathom why they were so poor against Brighton. Look, Brighton played well, sure, but Tottenham was struggling with 3-yard passes. Kulusevski should have been sent off in the 20th minute for that elbow at Cucurella, which was only a yellow, which is still inexplicable to me. Couldn't get Kane on the ball, couldn't get Son on the ball. Again, well played Brighton, but Tottenham just were not up for that game. And Antonio Conte seemed a bit baffled by it. They've had a nice break since that game. They've had time to refocus their energies. But the thing is with Tottenham is if the front three doesn't fire, there's not much else. There's no real replacement. Mora, no. Bergwijn, no. They're perennial substitutes for a reason. And I just think this game will be won by the team that works hardest. It's two long ball teams in many ways. Brentford bang it up to Tony. Tottenham bang it up to Kane. And I actually am going to go against the odds here. I know Tottenham are short, but I just like the way Brentford are playing right now. What a tough place to go. They've beaten Chelsea, Arsenal and West Ham at home this season. Pushed City all the way, even when they had an injury crisis. So I'd take Brentford win at 4-1. That's very nice on its own. I wouldn't particularly look for much else beyond that because the odds are so good. Brentford win at 4-1. Again, as we get to Saturday and we get to kick off, that will climb up to maybe even 5-1. That is well worth a tenner of your money because I think they've got a great chance. There's no real Tottenham bet here that I fancy. So keep it simple. Brentford win.
Okay, there is kind of an agreement here actually with Brentford to win for Scandi, for Marco, also Pool. Thinks that Spurs odds are very short, given the performance against Brighton. The odds for both teams to score that someone is also suggesting is 1.8. This is for Brentford, Tottenham, and going to the south, we have two southern teams, Brighton, Southampton, another game that absolutely nothing to play for, but, well, Brighton is arriving in a good moment to this game after that 2 victories against the North London teams, whereas for Southampton, I think no one saw that victory coming against Arsenal. This one, another tough one to call. Perhaps the draw is a good option, no?
Yes, the draw is a fantastic option. 6-1 for 1-1 is exactly what I'll be betting on for this game. 3.3 up to 3.4 now for the draw on its own is very, very nice. Look, briefly, Brighton had a bit of a panic after a poor run of form. Graham Potter has a team that plays great football. They're very confident on the ball, but they don't really have a cutting edge. So to win games, they've got to score great goals. They did at Tottenham. They did at Arsenal, and they've turned the season around. But with no Bissouma suspended, no Trossard, who's got a virus, likely missing for this one. That was their 2 best players at Emirates Stadium already gone. I think we saw that against City as well in midweek. Look, City are great opposition, but with their 2 best players, they would have had more of a chance. And Mwepu looks after player without Bissouma, and anyone they can bring in is nowhere near the quality of Leandro Trossard. So got some issues, Brighton, and they also have lots of issues winning at home as well. I'll never quite understand why, but they don't win as many games at the Amex as they should. For Southampton, one of the most unpredictable teams to cover. I have a policy, as you know, of always betting on Southampton what they did last week because usually they go on runs of results. It doesn't always work for you, but in lieu of a better policy on Southampton, that's what I tend to do. But this game screams draw. I think you've got 2 teams here that will look to shut each other down. I don't see a great deal of entertainment in this game in the South Coast. I think 1-1 draw, both teams score, is the most likely outcome. But there's nothing particularly standout here for me, really.
Okay, Pool also draw, Armin draw. Welcome, everyone, by the way, to the show. We welcome your comments. So tell us, what do you think about the next one? For instance, Burnley, Wolves. Of course, we have to wait to see Burnley against Southampton eventually. If they win both games at home, they will be out of the relegation zone. But this is a lot of ifs in the post-Sean Dyche era. In this case. What do you expect facing Wolves? Perhaps lower scoring games. Wolves, no option not to go to Europe anymore.
Well, you're absolutely right. Sean Dyche is not in the area. And I don't think any manager is going to be in the area by this weekend. So they would have played 3 games after sacking Sean Dyche with no manager. Mike Jackson is in charge, the under-23 coach, along with Ben Mee. Look, they got a draw at West Ham at the weekend. Again, playing West Ham at the right time. They can't rotate their team very much. Often levels have dipped in those games. But West Ham should have won that 3 or 4-1. Nick Pope made some brilliant saves to keep them in the game. Apart from that, Burnley would have been beaten. They were pretty poor at West Ham, certainly in the second half. So, really surprised nothing has happened. Really surprised there is no plan to have a manager in place. It doesn't make sense that they sacked Sean Dyche, and still doesn't make sense they sacked Sean Dyche. Injury-wise for Burnley, obviously there's another game to play before they're on, but I'm not expecting Ashley Westwood to return anytime soon. Horrible injury he picked up at West Ham last week, and that's a real shame because I think he's been their standout player when I watched Burnley this season. Doesn't give the ball away, tenacious in the tackle, can carry the ball upfield and carry them through the thirds. So, good player, Ashley Westwood. Big loss for them, I think, in midfield. Still no Ben Mee as well. Don't really have the quality of replacement for Ben Mee alongside Tarkowski. Collins, I don't think, is particularly good. For Wolverhampton Wanderers, they can still make Europe. I think it's them or West Ham now for 7th. West Ham's fixture list is real tough. They're in the semi-final of the Europa League, and they've got injury issues as well, West Ham. So they can be caught by Wolves. So Wolves could finish 7th. 7th will be the Conference League, and that is still open to them. They've got to win 3 of their remaining games, which they are more than capable of doing. They've got 6 games left, so win half of those. That would take them to 50 points, and that might well, forgive me, that would take them to 57 points, and that might well be enough. So I think they'll fancy this game, Wolves. The trouble is they don't really have a second gear. They don't really have an offensive gear. They just nick a goal and then bore everyone to tears until the game finishes. So do not go above 2.5 goals. Go the under on this game. This has got under all over it. The draw market is interesting. 0-0 draw at 7-1 is really, really interesting. I don't really think either team has got enough to win this game, but I don't really know what Burnley are at this moment in time. Look at the corner market, above 10 corners in this game, no goals scored in it, draw the most likely outcome. If you were going to side for a winner, maybe just err on the side of Wolverhampton Wanderers, but I'll be putting my money on the draw and lots of corners.
And going for the goals market, under 2 goals, odds are 2. So the bookies don't expect many goals, of course. It should be an under. Next game, Chelsea, West Ham. Chelsea 5 points difference now with Arsenal. So still, they have to play in the Premier League to qualify for the Champions League. I guess Tuchel is still very angry at his defense. They were terrible. And West Ham, what to expect from them? Tom, ahead, of course. Around the corner, we have this game of the Europa League against Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yeah, for Chelsea, very odd to have lost 4-1, won 6-0, and lost 4-2. Yes. Like, that doesn't happen to anybody. Like, that's very, very strange. But defensively, they've got problems. You know, Thiago Silva looks every inch of his 38 years when you watch him. Andreas Christensen looks poor. Malang Sarr is not particularly good. Antonio Rudiger is better going forward than he is going backwards. At right back, Azpilicueta is too busy holding Saka and fighting with fans to do his defensive work. Lukaku doesn't score. Werner's playing well. Got to give him that. Mason Mount's playing well. Absolutely. And the midfield keeps rotating a lot for Chelsea right now. So it's difficult to know exactly how they're going to play. But I do think that West Ham have got a real chance here. I think West Ham have got a real chance. They've had a week between games. So rare for West Ham this season. These two teams have played more football than any other teams in English football this year. And I think you're seeing that in both of their inconsistent performances at this moment in time. Of course, Chelsea out of Europe and West Ham in the lower competition still in it. The big news for West Ham is that Issa Diop is injured. So now it's Angelo Ogbonna, Kurt Zouma and Issa Diop. That's 3 of their 4 centre-halves. So there's only Craig Dawson left, who's playing through injury and getting injections every game to play. So what is David Moyes going to do? There's two options. Number one is put Ben Johnson centre-half, who's the fullback who's played left-back and right-back, versatile player, but not really a centre-half. I think he has done it at youth level. Or you drop Declan Rice back into centre-half, and you do that, you take your best player out of his best position, and I think David Moyes would be loath to do that. Personally, I'd go Johnson, but we will see. What they do against Chelsea at the weekend will be what they do against Frankfurt on the Thursday. But the way Arsenal play is the way West Ham play. Mikel Arteta has basically seen the West Ham blueprint and he's followed it almost down to the letter. And he's getting results out of Arsenal. And I think West Ham can do the same sort of job that Arsenal did a couple of days ago on Chelsea. I think if the defence can stand firm, if Johnson can prove himself a good central defender, I think West Ham can go there and win. At 7-1, I think that's just worth your time. That's just worth your time, West Ham at 7-1. Chelsea at 1.5 favourites. Not really understanding that. Don't really see that. Another game where Stamford Bridge will be half empty because they're not allowing fans in that don't already have season tickets or bought tickets in advance, which is a big issue, I thought, with the atmosphere on Wednesday as well. So look at just West Ham to win at 7-1. Scoreline most likely is 2-1, 17-1. West Ham win. Both teams score. But look at West Ham to win. 7-1. That's enough.
Armin is asking us what's the issue now with Lukaku. It's a major flop, of course, one of the best strikers with Inter, and he wants to go back to Inter, so perhaps this is also another problem. The odds are so short for Chelsea, and you are backing West Ham to win. This is massive odds, but even West Ham Asian handicap +1, for instance, pays 2, which is all right, and you win if there is a draw of the Hammers win, or you get your money back if they lose only for 1 goal difference. Idris is telling us that Hammers are distracted with the Europa League. Of course, I'm talking about European competitions. We have Liverpool, Everton, because Liverpool, they are playing Champions League, of course, against Villarreal. I will ask you later about briefly about your predictions about these Champions League semi-finals with 2 English teams, but arriving to this Merseyside derby in Goodison Park, we saw 1-4 for Liverpool. Now Liverpool, they are absolutely flying, the best team in Europe. So we expect another thrashing result, 4-0, 5-0, something like this.
I mean, Liverpool are going to win this game, and you're safe to group bet here at 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. I think that's a safe group bet. I wouldn't predict Everton to score a goal in this game. When Liverpool have tripped up this season, it's been that they've played teams who I think they've taken their eye off of, and they weren't going to do that with Man United on Tuesday because of the rivalry there, and they're not going to do that with Everton here because of the rivalry between these two clubs. I'd expect 4 or 5 players to be rotated in and out because Everton are such a poor team. And so many played against Man United on Tuesday. And as you mentioned, the Champions League is coming up. So I expect heavy rotation, but I still would expect Liverpool to win both halves, win without conceding. And I'd be looking to double up with some scorers here. Liverpool win over 2.5 goals, Mo Salah amongst the goal scorers. But also look at winning both halves as well. For Everton, look, they got a point against Leicester in midweek. I don't really know how. They're a really, really poor side. You know, Richarlison kept missing really easy chances. There's no real discernible style of play. I mentioned to you last week, it's all about personality now for Everton. They haven't got a coach who's got a style of play or an identity. They don't have players who have got a style of play or an identity. It's why Anthony Gordon's starting. It's all about attitude. Seamus Coleman has come back in, similar story. So I think they'll fight for it, Everton. I think if Gordon's playing, they'll work their socks off. But nobody can get anywhere near Liverpool at this moment in time. So big Liverpool win.
And by the way, Liverpool to win both halves that you mentioned, odds are 2.3, over 2.5 goals, Asian handicap -1.5 for Pool, Scandi, also Liverpool Asian handicap -2, win 2-0. Do you see a full English Champions League final?
I think Liverpool will go through, absolutely. With all due respect to Villarreal, I think nobody can beat Liverpool at this moment in time. So I expect them to go through. The other one, I think, is right up in the air. I think the game just favours Man City because of the quality of the squad and the depth they have. But I wouldn't be brave enough at this moment in time to bet on any team or against any team that's got Karim Benzema in it in the Champions League, right? I mean, that just seems like a mad thing to do. So the other one, very confident it'll be Liverpool. I would just shade for Man City. But I think that one is going to go right to the wire. I wouldn't be amazed with no away goals as well if we went all the way to second leg penalties between Real Madrid and Man City.
I'm already nervous about that Man City Real Madrid with Karim Benzema, by the way, missing 2 penalties against Osasuna. Last game on Monday, Crystal Palace Leeds, 2 teams that are safe. What a job he's doing Jesse March. Now Leeds are 8 points away from relegation, beat Watford 0-3, 10 points out of the last 12, almost safe. I guess they still need some points for Crystal Palace. The season is over and we have to see how they react, because at home at Selhurst Park recently they've been great. Remember that they beat Arsenal, they drew with Man City. What do you expect?
Crystal Palace, what a shame for them in the FA Cup semi-final last week. You could see the season was revolving around that. And Patrick Vieira, following the Crystal Palace loss, basically said it. We were still thinking about the weekend, basically, is what Vieira said, and why not? I think that with Leeds United, great idea to get rid of Bielsa. Probably did it a few weeks too late because of his legendary status. They've made the right decision in bringing in Jesse Marsh, who is a disciple in a way of Bielsa's style, but also is a bit more pragmatic and, if not competent, in the way he sets the team up. He isn't a kind of zealot when it comes to following the doctrine of Bielsa. He's taken it, likes ideas of it, goes to church on Sunday, but he's still happy to commit the occasional sin. So, I think that that was the right decision, and Leeds will be safe. You mentioned one more win. I think one more win is right. 36 is the line. They will get that from what is left. I see goals in this game. I think the fact that Leeds will come out swinging. I think the fact that Crystal Palace aren't the defensive unit they used to be. I think both teams are going to go out to win it. I think there'll be a cavalier nature to this game. So I like, again, the draw market, which will push up to 4-1 by the time we get to Monday. Draw on both teams score. Really, really interesting. 3-3 at 40-1 this morning is quite nice. But I'd be looking here at both teams score in both halves, and the game finishes as a draw.
Goals market over 2.5 goals, for instance, is 1.9. Scandi is going again for both teams to score. Well, this is it. We've analyzed everything. I had fun, as always. Tom, happy. Let's finish with your ACCA then.
I'm pleased you had fun. That's important. The ACCA's have been a bit up and down recently for me. I was just short of Chelsea winning, of a 10-1 win in midweek, so that was frustrating. But I've just gone with a double. It's a big double. It's an interesting double, and I think it's going to be worth your time. Brentford win against Tottenham and West Ham win against Chelsea. Double them up, and you're on for some decent money. Why not? It's the end of the season. Go mad.
Exactly. Why not? It's important to have fun while working, Tom. Very important. Thank you, Tom. See you next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to press the like. You will help us. See you next week. Bye.